Almost everyone has imagined it once. What if there were two of you? One goes to school, one stays home, one takes the blame, one has an alibi. One is seen in the hallway while the other is already somewhere else. Project Solos took that childish thought and made it administrative. The file does not describe twins in the ordinary way. It does not call them brothers. It does not list two agents. In the surviving fragments, there is one operational identity, one clearance path, one personnel jacket, and one field name repeated across cities where one body could not have moved fast enough to appear. That is the part that makes the archive difficult. A body double usually replaces someone. A disguise makes one person look like another. Solos appears to have done something quieter. It made two people behave, on paper, as one. The name was almost too neat. Solos reads the same in both directions. It looks singular and plural at once. One man, then another one. The same name coming and going. The earliest fragment is not dramatic. It is a cover sheet with a program title, a budget column, and 6 blacked out lines. The title is still readable, Project Solos. Beneath it, a phrase survives in the margin, single name continuity. That phrase is the key to the episode. Solos was not built to create perfect spies. It was built to test what an intelligence system believes a person is. Is a person a face? Is a person a passport? Is a person a habit, a route, a voice, a signature, a file number? And if two bodies can carry the same answer, who is being followed? The most useful application was surveillance. A normal agent under hostile surveillance has a problem. If he breaks the tail, the other side knows it lost him. If he changes clothes, it may notice. If he vanishes into a crowd, the whole operation becomes noisy. The surveillance team radios ahead, doors close, sources disappear. Solos offered a cleaner answer. Do not make the agent disappear. Make surveillance follow the wrong version of him. The operating model appears again and again in the file sketches. One man leaves a cafe, an embassy corridor, or a train station with a visible object, a dark coat, a square leather case, a pair of metal-framed glasses. He walks like a man who knows he is being watched but cannot prove it. Then he enters a controlled blind spot, a hotel lobby with 2 exits, a metro passage with a service stair, a station concourse where 3 sightlines collapse behind a newspaper stand. For 12 seconds, the face is gone. When the face returns, the watchers believe the operation has continued, but the body has changed. Twin A remains inside the blind spot, turns through a staff corridor and meets the real contact. Twin B exits into the open, wearing the same coat, carrying the same case, and moving with the same practiced impatience. The surveillance team follows B. It reports success. It never reports the break, because from its point of view, there was no break. That is the advantage no ordinary disguise gives you. A disguise asks the watcher to believe a changed person is the same man. Solos asked the watcher to believe the same face was the same body. The difference is small until an operation depends on it. One contact sheet shows the idea without explaining it. A man in a dark coat enters a station door at 1842. A man in the same coat leaves a side door at 1843. The photographs are poor, probably copied from copies, but the face is close enough that an ordinary desk would file them together. On the back, someone has drawn 2 arrows and 1 word. Transferred. Not escaped, not lost. Transferred. That word appears beside the first practical benefit, surveillance transfer. The second benefit was alibi. Everyone understands this one. It is the oldest twin fantasy made operational. If one brother is seen at dinner, the other can be somewhere else. If one is photographed entering an embassy reception, the other can meet a source across the city. If one signs a hotel ledger, the other can board a train under the same alias without creating a second identity for the file to protect. Solos made the alibi administrative. The question was not whether one brother could pretend to be another. The question was whether the record system could be made to need only one of them. There is a receipt in the file from a hotel in Vienna. The alias is written in a careful block hand. 3 pages later, the same alias appears on a conference attendance sheet in Rome, dated within the same operational window. Under ordinary circumstances, that contradiction would be a mistake. Under Solos, it was the point. One identity could hold 2 locations without either appearance being false. The third benefit was continuity. Field work is fragile in boring ways. people become sick, they miss trains, they sleep badly, they are recognized by the wrong clerk, they lose nerve, they become too familiar to a surveillance team, they are photographed once too clearly. A normal operation has to pause around the body. Solos allowed the file to continue. One brother could rest while the other kept the pattern alive. One could be compromised in a limited way while the other maintained the meeting schedule. One could become the visible version, the man hostile surveillance learned to follow, while the other became the useful version, the man who did not need to be seen. In one training note, a line survives between redactions. The asset must remain continuous even when the subject does not. That sentence is cold, but it explains the program better than any dramatic phrase. Solos separated the operational person from the biological person. The file was the agent. The brothers were a way to keep the file moving. The fourth benefit was internal. This is where Solos becomes a counterintelligence program instead of a field trick. The file suggests that most ordinary CIA desks were not told about the paired body structure. They were not supposed to know. A station desk in one city would brief the alias as a single man. A liaison office in another city would do the same. Travel clerks, analysts, handlers, and support staff would all record one person because that is what the paperwork told them to see. Counterintelligence could then watch the institution watching itself. If Desk A was told that the asset would be in Rome, and Desk B was told that the same asset would be in Vienna, and a hostile service reacted in Vienna, the program did not merely protect a source, it mapped a leak, not by asking who had access, by splitting one identity across compartments and waiting to see which version came back. In the file, these are called return fragments. They are not proof by themselves. A rumour can move strangely, a clerk can repeat a city name by accident, a source can misunderstand a meeting. But when the same false location returns through hostile reporting more than once, counterintelligence begins to see the shape of the channel. This is why the secrecy inside the agency mattered. If every desk knew the twins were twins, the program would become a trick everyone could explain. The moment the paired body structure became ordinary knowledge, it would stop measuring belief. It would become another compartment to protect, another fact a mole could sell. Solos worked only if the system believed the alias was one man. That belief had costs. The family material is thin, and the episode should not pretend otherwise. There are no names to follow, no faces clear enough to identify, no clean confession. But there are small domestic objects in the file that should not have been necessary for a simple surveillance program. 2 letters under one signature, written with different pressure. A medical form where the scar appears on the wrong wrist. A note about handedness, then a correction. Then a second correction. A spouse interview summary, almost entirely redacted, with one line left visible. Subject presented inconsistent domestic habits after travel. That line is not evidence of a grand scandal. It is evidence of what the program was willing to make ordinary. For Solos to work, the brothers did not simply share a cover at work. They had to let one paper identity press back into life. A normal alias ends when the operation ends. A single name identity is harder to put down. By the early 1980s, the released fragments suggest that the program was being closed. The language changes. The phrase paired body structure disappears. Single name continuity appears one last time, then becomes identity continuity testing, then vanishes into budget headings too broad to follow. The formal note is dry. Operational use discontinued. It does not say why. It may have been risk. It may have been cost. It may have been that modern records were becoming too dense, better photographs, more travel documents, more automated checks, more places where a face and a file could disagree. A program built on administrative ambiguity becomes harder to run when administration becomes faster than memory. According to the released files, Project Solos ended in 1983. But a program built to make 2 people look like one leaves a difficult kind of ending. If it continued, it would not continue under the same name. If it worked, most of the agency would still believe there was only one man. And if it truly ended, the cleanest proof would be the one thing the archive never gives us: both brothers in the same room under their real names. The final object is a personnel folder. At first glance, there is nothing unusual about it. One alias, One clearance route, one photograph clipped to the front. But behind the photograph is a second card, cut to the same size with the same face and a slightly different shadow under the left eye. No note explains it. No signature claims it. The folder does not ask us to believe in a conspiracy. It asks a smaller question. How much of a person can paperwork create before the file replaces the body? That was the question.